been to school, you've been through orientation, you've been out on the road with your trainer, and now it's time for the next step on your process. You want to know what it is? Stick around to find out. Hello and welcome back. I am Trainer Alan, your OTR truck driving instructor. So you've accomplished all the goals to now. So let me be the first one to say congratulations. School was tough for you. Going through orientation seemed monotonous, seemed like a crazy process. Then you went out with your trainer and you finished all that time with them, and now here you are. You are ready for the next step on your voyage. And this step shouldn't be that difficult as long as you paid attention. If you paid attention while you were out on the truck with your trainer, you should not have a problem acing this part. This part is called, depending on what company you're with, it could be called an upgrade. It could be called a graduation. It could be called a myriad of different things. But the fact of the matter is, they pretty much all contain some very basic aspects. And I want to talk about those with you today. Now, those aspects, like I said, aren't that difficult. First of all, in the course of the past several weeks, you've had to get a certain number of hours behind the wheel of actual drive time to be able to get to this point where you're getting ready to go and test out, okay? And that process is going to consist of a couple things. First of all, you've got to have the proper number of hours driving. You'll probably very possibly have to have a certain amount of time backing. And during this process, they're going to make sure that you've logged and shown the proper amount of hours to do your upgrade. So they're going to check your hours. They're going to check your logbooks, okay? Most companies will have you complete a regular paper logbook the entire time you're going through training, or at least for a specified amount of time, to show that you know how to use paper logs. Because, listen, if your instructor didn't tell you enough, let me tell you now. If your ELD stops working, your electronic logging device, if that stops working, you have to know how to use your paper logs, because you're going to have to use those until you can get your ELD fixed. So they're going to check your logbooks, your paper logbooks that you did for training purposes, as well as your actual ELD logbooks, just to make sure that you know what you're doing. Then you're probably going to have a written test of some sort that will go over skills. It will probably go over company requirements, what they expect of you. And then you will have probably a map test, a map analoging test, possibly, that shows them that you know how to log your trip, that you know how to plan your trip, because planning the trip is everything, okay? Knowing that you can get from point A to point B in a specified amount of time is everything, okay? So they're going to make sure you know and understand what you're supposed to be doing. Then after your written tests are over, then you're going to probably go out on the yard and do a final driving test. Usually they'll have you drive a certain distance, make some turns, and come back, okay? Once you get back, you'll do your backing test, parking, whatever. You'll complete all of that generally within 1 to 2 days. Now, what happens if you fail? Now, nobody likes the idea of failure, but it's possible. You know, maybe there's something that you've just been having a really tough time on, and you just aren't quite comfortable with, and you know you're ready for it or not. And if you fail, it probably won't be a big surprise. But what happens if you fail is generally one of a couple different options. Number one, they either send you back out with a trainer, either the same trainer or another trainer, for maybe a week, to work on those things that you had an issue with in your upgrade. If the issue was simply backing, then they will probably put you with a yard trainer, which is someone that will work with you out on the yard, specifically just working on your backing skills, okay? As you know by now, backing is a major thing in truck driving. It's easy to go down the road. You know that by now. Going down the road is the easy part. But once you get to the customer, that's great that you drove there, but can you back into the dock? Can you back into the lot where they want you to park? Can you, back around certain curves, whatever? That's probably the toughest part, other than the emotional side of trucking. The actual driving part, the backing is probably the toughest part. If you do fail the first time around, don't feel bad. Thousands of others before you have failed that same test. So don't let it eat at you. Just do what you got to do. Focus, hone in, and just hone those skills over the next couple days while you're there at the yard, and then they should allow you to go ahead and retest, and you should make your upgrade then. Now, if you pass, or once you pass, let me back up, because ultimately, if you fail a second time, chances are you're going home. That's the bad news, right? But let's hope you don't fail a second time. All right. So let's say you didn't completely fail. You're not going home. They're not sending you home saying, nope, you're not driving for us. You can't do blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you pass. You finally pass, and you get your own truck. A couple of options here. You can go into a truck by yourself, or you may be going into a truck with another driver as a team. Some companies require that after your upgrade from training, you do go out with another driver as a team for a specified amount of time. Some companies that's 3 months, some it's 6 months, some it's a year, before you can get in your own truck. I only know of one or two off the top of my head that are a year, but most all of them require a 3 to 6 months. So now you're going out with another driver. There are pros and cons, just like with everything. There's pros and cons. With this, there are two primary pros. First of all, you each get to learn from the other's experience. Now, you may be with another new person, somebody else that just upgraded as well. Okay, so you're both kind of coming into this with a fresh view of things from wherever you were in your with your trainer. Different trainers have different ways of training, and one trainer might focus on one thing, another trainer might focus on another. So if you're out there with another trainee that just upgraded, you're going to be able to learn from each other's experience. Second pro of this is that you can help each other through the next several months of the learning curve of over-the-road life. You can help each other do backing, when you're at a customer or whatever. So those are the two main pros. The cons is that you are both new, and a lot of times that will breed a lack of trust. And so it can be difficult to rest sometimes unless you really get to know that person and can really build that trust pretty quick, because you're new, they're new, you don't know their skills. They ain't been driving that long, so you don't know what they can and can't do. You don't know what their levels are. So hopefully over the first day or two, you don't have to do any real humping, and you can just kind of, sit in the passenger seat, watch what they're doing, and the second day, vice versa. You guys can kind of learn each other's patterns, driving skills, that kind of thing, so you can be more comfortable with each other. But yeah, the initial lack of trust, that is a big thing, especially when it comes to resting while the other one's driving. The other con is that if you come upon an unfamiliar situation that neither of you are familiar with, means you're going to have to reach out to someone who is, whether that be his trainer, your trainer, or somebody at the company that can kind of help you navigate through an unfamiliar obstacle, whatever that may be. Now, another option is that a lot of companies will allow you to go into a truck with a more experienced driver. And so, something that you can do is while you're out there with your trainer, kind of get to know some of the other drivers. and you'll see them out at the yards. You'll see them at terminals. You'll see them at different customers. Try and get to know some of them. And some of them may be looking for a team driver to drive with them because there's a lot of money to be made teaming. The pros to doing it that way are similar to going out with any driver. I mean, you get to learn more, and you have someone there to help you if you need it. The only con for going out with an experienced driver is that the experienced driver situation, they tend to act more like a boss sometimes, and that can get annoying. But they do have more experience, and it would be wise of you to feed off that experience, to learn from their experience. So let's look at pros of team versus going solo coming out the gate. First of all, it's harder to mess up your load because of bad logging if you're in a team operating situation. Okay, you're still trying to learn how to log, how to manage your time, and having someone there to kind of slip in and fill in any gaps that you've messed up on your logging is very helpful. You can help each other in other ways as well, like the backing situation. That's huge. There's more money in it. If you're teaming and your company's keeping you running, you can make a lot of money. Another big pro for going team is that you're not alone. A lot of people don't like to be alone all the time. And if that's you, hey, that's another good reason to be out with someone as a team. You're never completely alone. You've always got somebody there. If you need to, a face-to-face chat with somebody that you feel like you can trust, and you've built that relationship and that trust with your teammate, that's a great pro of actually having that teammate. Cons of teaming: you have to share your space. Okay, some people don't like to share such a small space. I get it. It can be harder to sleep at times, because when you're not driving, you're trying to sleep, but the truck's still moving. That can be difficult. But I will say that once you get used to it, it generally takes a couple, 3 days to get used to it. And each time you take home time and then go back out, it's going to be the same process. It's going to take you another day or two to get used to sleeping while the truck's moving. Trust issues. If you have trust issues with people in general, teaming probably isn't the best way to go for you. And then, of course, there's always the possibility you could get stuck with a bad teammate. They don't take care of themselves. They stink. They don't clean up after themselves. They're rude. Whatever. I mean, there's a million different ways that you can say this person's a bad teammate. You don't feel comfortable with their driving. So yeah, I mean, there are those cons as well. In my opinion, try to begin with an experienced driver who wants to team. Okay. If you have to team and you have an option of going with a teammate that's been over the road for, at least 6 months to a year already, go with that person. The additional experience with someone, especially someone that's had experience, will be invaluable to you. So that is my take on upgrading and how that all plays out. Now, the other option of going out alone. Okay. If you're able to do that and you feel comfortable with that, understand out the gate that you're not going to be perfect. Okay. And believe me, your dispatcher knows you're not going to be perfect. Your dispatcher expects you to make mistakes. Your dispatcher expects questions every day. Okay. Because you're learning. You're still learning. Even after all that training, even after the schooling, the orientation, the training, you are still learning. Okay? Until you've been out for a year, 2 years, 3 years, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you come in contact with on a regular basis that you're unfamiliar with. Okay? So always remember that. And again, if you can go team, and you can, especially if you can go team with an experienced driver, do it. It'll help you financially. It'll help you learn more and quicker. So yeah, if you can do that, do that. Go out there, enjoy the experience, make the big money, and do your thing. Get on down the road and truck them up. Keep the sunny side up and the greasy side down there, truck driver. See you next time.